So feel free to just, this one's kind of swingy. Somebody scream. Who's that whispering in the trees? It's two sailors and they're on leave. Hats and chains and swinging hands. Who's your daddy? Yes, I am. Fat cats came to play. Oh, you can't run fast enough. You best stay away when those bushes start to shove. A zoot suit riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. A zoot suit riot. Run a comb through your coal black hair. Zoot suit riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. Zoot suit riot. Run a comb through your coal black hair. With tub jitterbrand, brown-eyed man, that stray cat burning in an 8-piece band. When you're cutting his saddle, you'll understand. He's your big top music man. Oh, got me on the sway. Oh, I wanna swing you, dove. You gon' better go where your women go for love. Zoot suit riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. A zoot suit riot. Run a comb through your coal black hair. In a zoot suit riot. I'm in a zoot suit riot. I'm in a zoot suit riot. Badoon-zaya, badoon-zazuzi. Play a badita. Badoon-zaya, badoon-zazuzi. Play a badita. Got me on the sway. Oh, I wanna swing you, dove. Now you sinners know where your women go for love. Zoot suit riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. A zoot suit riot. Run a comb through your coal black hair. A zoot suit riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. A zoot suit riot. Run a comb through your coal black hair. I'm in a zoot suit riot. I'm in a zoot suit riot. I'm in a zoot suit riot. I think we're ready to get on with this meeting. What do y'all think? Thank you very much. That's something a little more modern. That was a tune made famous by a little group called the Cherry Poppin' Daddies. And so, my question is, you guys ready to get back to work? Have a little fun? Okay, I'd like to introduce the next speaker to you. He's got some, he's going to help you out with some language, some words that you definitely want to use in relationship with people, and some words you want to stay away from. First thing, he's an author. He's written a couple of books. This is one of them right here. He's also got a bunch of audio programs. He is one of 600 people in the known universe that carries the designation of certified speaking professional from the National Speakers Association, and as fate would have it, he's the only one in New Mexico. That's pretty good, right? He's also in the who's who there in the National Speakers Association. You're going to have a really good time with this. So please welcome to the Jobs for America stage, Mr. John Maluso.
Has this been amazing so far? I mean, tell me how much amazing this is. Have there been just miracles upon miracles upon miracles happening to you? I mean, they've been happening to me. Zig Ziglar, he was talking about writing a book. And can you imagine? He gives you a book and all you have to do is fill in the blanks. I mean, look at this. Think about this. Personal performance record? I mean, does it get any better than that? That you yourself can write your own book and make it the most important book of your life. Your priorities. Isn't that a wonderful thing? Why don't you, or have you been? Let me ask you, how many people have been writing down what they've been learning today in the last couple of days? It's amazing to me. Zig was saying, John, one of the first things I do is I've got my pad and paper and 2 pens. And I go, you mean these 2 pens and this pad of paper? Like that? You mean that's what you do? How many of us have been writing down exactly what's important? There's been some things that I've really written down and I've really appreciated that reminded me something even more. How about Jeffrey Washington? Was he great? Woo! And I love the O for optimism. Isn't that a good idea? How many times do we not be as optimistic as we want? And how many times might that reminder of being optimistic be helpful? It is for me. And one of the things a dear friend of mine in the National Speakers Association, Dr. Terry Polson, he talked about, he said, optimism. He's got a new book out. You might even want to write it down, The Optimism Factor. Dr. Terry Polson. And Dr. Terry Polson said, optimism is earned. It's earned by you overcoming and recognizing that you overcame that thing yesterday, right? Or that thing 3 weeks ago that you overcame, that allows you the opportunity to be optimistic because you know that everything is going to turn out okay, right? Isn't it just like a children's book? It's scary at first, and then it turns out okay. Isn't that a wonderful gift? What about Todd yesterday? When he talked about, in fact, he got you to sign. How many people remembered their commitment and signed that commitment? One of the things I committed to yesterday was reading. Getting back to that idea of reading what's important 3 hours a day. And something amazing happened to me last night. Even though I was tired and even though I had lots of things in my mind, I read. And in the morning, guess what? That red band that everybody was wearing, mine turned to pink. The light of God must have sparkled right on top of me and it hit me. And you know what it says on there? Hope, faith, and love. Hope, faith, and love. What is hope to you? What is hope to you? Anybody got any ideas? Is it that kind of thing that when you go to the lottery and the ticket place and you say, I hope I win the lottery? That's not hope. The biblical definition of hope, the way they used it in Old Testament times, I think we have to get back to. The definition of hope is joyful expectation. Joyful expectation. Is that something that you'll want to have in your life much more fully? When you hope and you joyfully expect that it's coming, is that not what God would want to give to you? Absolutely. What about faith? Todd talked about faith, and I appreciate that that he mentioned that. Is faith the automatic canceller of fear? Someone a long time ago told me that fear was more of an acronym. You know, one of those abbreviations that stood for things. And it talked about fear as false evidence appearing real. Isn't that an interesting concept? False evidence, something that's really an appearance of something that really isn't there. Isn't that a wonderful way to address and respond rather than to react? You know, I deal with a lot of graphics designers, and those graphic designers, it seems like they're always waiting for the deadline. And then they get all scared that, oh no, I'm not going to be able to do it, and they get their body filled with adrenaline. And then they're tired afterwards. They get it done. But isn't there a way that we might think about doing it differently? Think about stepping out into faith. Do you remember that Indiana Jones movie where he just stepped out and the ground materialized under his feet? Isn't that the kind of way that you would like to begin addressing life and bringing that faith, that blinding faith, that defies description and understanding? I appreciate Todd's commentary about commitment as well. And we talked about, and commitment is and taking responsibility for your life. You know, one of the things in addressing my fears in my life, one of the things that I was inspired to do was go bungee jumping. Anyone ever bungee jumped? A couple of people. Well, it just so happened that there was a minister in Portland, Oregon, and she wanted to demonstrate and exercise her faith. And in fact, it was funny. She went onto this bungee jump, and it was a bungee jump where it was in a parking lot. And they tied her feet together. And she had to jump from this 10-story crane onto the parking lot. And she was actually quite terrified because anybody else terrified from heights like I have been in my life? And she saw a cross in the distance. And she took that as a sign. Have you ever had signs in your life that God was really there and it was okay? And she saw that cross in the distance in a church far away that she'd never been to. She jumped, knowing that God would catch her. Well, I decided that if she can do it and conquer her fears of heights, I was going to do that as well. And so it just so happened I was living in Portland, Oregon at the time, and there was a bungee jump, the highest bridge in in the world actually, that you can actually legally bungee jump off of. Now this is legal. You can legally do this there. And it was a logging bridge. And in fact, the logging bridge didn't have a railing on one side. And they said, whatever you do, don't lean over too far because you won't be able to catch yourself. Now, can you just feel that in your body a little bit? The scariness of it? Before I even got to the bridge, though, they handed me this 24-page legal document. They are not responsible for broken limbs, concussions, and death. Losing money out of your pocket doesn't qualify as something you can get from them. They wanted a release from everything. They wanted you to take responsibility completely for your life. I immediately sort of took that in and realized that is a responsibility. That's a decision, a choice, if you will, a commitment, if you will, every day of your life. How is it different than when you are bungee jumping or when you're going off in a sales call or courting your wife? Every day is to take responsibility for everything in your life, is it not? I learned something that moment. And I learned that every day, every moment, every breath is precious. And for me to become as much as I can be, to me to share with you as much as I know inside to share with you, it's vital for me to take that responsibility in my health. In what I think, what I say, what I do. In every moment. Because otherwise, there is going to be things that I would prefer to not happen. Does that sound reasonable? Actually, one of the things that I appreciated also from Gregory, and it reminded me of something, and it actually supports the idea of what I talk about in Becoming Your Greatest, my latest book. How many of you remember Og Mandino? Wonderful author. If you don't know the greatest salesman in the world and the greatest secret in the world, write that down. Because it is a wonderful faith walk, if you will, a demonstration of ways to live and ways to be. So I was appreciating what Jeffrey was speaking about, and he talked about stress. Anyone have stress here? Am I the only one? Oh, there's a few other people. Good. I was in a training room in Oregon as well, and there was a gentleman named Michael Grinder. Anyone know that name, Michael Grinder or John Grinder, Neuro-Linguistic Programming? Tony Robbins has sort of made it popular. Michael Grinder was teaching me things about how to communicate better with people and how to use nonverbal communication, the importance of communicating not only to the conscious mind, but the unconscious mind. And he came in one day, and he's a little short, it looks like a leprechaun kind of guy, and he comes right in. And he said, anyone like the definition of STRESS? Now, as soon as he did that, we kind of laughed, because why is he spelling the word? What, is he testing us? But he always had ideas, and he always had ways of communicating that had deeper meaning. So somebody raised their hand and said, absolutely, we'd like to know what STRESS is. Because if I know what it is, maybe I can reduce it. Would that be consistent with what you would understand? So the first thing we asked him before we said, we'd like to understand what the definition is, but can you please tell me, why did you spell the word? And what he told me changed my life. He said, when I say the word, I feel the feeling. Do you hear the wisdom in that? If I say the word stress, does that help me focus on it more, bring my attention to it more, and create that more in my life? And then on top of that, you can even compound it, and you can say, I don't want any more stress anymore. And you create more stress. Wouldn't it be wonderful instead to sow into your subconscious mind and in the minds of your customers and the people that work for you and your mates and your children? I see joy for you. I see peace for you. I see success for you. I'm seeing that with you, even if you're not seeing that for yourself right now. Wouldn't that be more valuable? Every word is a commitment to creating or destroying not only yourself, but all the relationships in your life. Even your relationship with God. How many people in their prayer life say, please, God, don't give me any more disease. Please, God, don't give me any more stress. Wouldn't it be nice to ask for what you want? We talked about with Todd yesterday, I really loved what he was saying when he talked about asking for what you want. And then when you ask God for what you want, do you need to keep asking? You might want to keep asking, but wouldn't it be nice to know that the Father responds to your request before you even make it? Wouldn't it be wonderful to remember that everything you need, it's God's good pleasure to give to you? And yet we forget that sometimes. You know, I don't know if you know, another great book that you might want to think about is that the Pearl of Great Price. Anyone hear that book? That's an old-time spiritual book. And one of the things about the Pearl of Great Price talked about how a man was fascinated by pearls. He said, you know, I'm going to go off and I'm going to find the greatest pearl in the world. I'm going to sell everything that I have. I'm going to commit myself. I'm going to make sure that I have the greatest and wonderless pearl that's ever been on the planet because I adore pearls. And so he sold some property in Pennsylvania. It wasn't very good property. It didn't really grow things. In fact, there was this ugly, oily liquid that was seeping up from the ground. He sold the largest oil field in Ohio. Because it was God's good pleasure to give him richness, to give him abundance beyond his comprehension, and yet he didn't notice it. What are the oil fields in your life that you're not noticing? Where are the oil wells bubbling? Actually, Greg Frost, I'm glad you're in the audience because I'm going to talk about you for a moment. Here's a man that in the real estate industry, which is challenged. Any realtors in here know that there's challenges there? Here is a man with such integrity that not only is his business thriving in mortgage banking, but he is creating a global mortgage company with integrity and principles. And overcoming, if you will, the $2 million in trust that went away from some less integrous mortgage companies that had his name on it. Is that overcoming? Let's give Greg a little round of applause. What a tremendous example for us all to realize that Chinese symbol for crisis. How many people have heard this? Chinese symbol for crisis is the same symbol for opportunity. I'm going to mention Paul Wilson yesterday. You know, not only do I get the blessing of learning from Zig Ziglar and Todd Novak and Jeffrey Washington and Dave Farrell. Oh, I got to tell you this. Talk about another miracle.